All right, it's time for our Kegel exercises, Twila.
Yes, it is.
And so why do we do our Kegels? Well, it's important for our pelvic health for both men and women. These exercises help support our pelvic organs in women, the bladder, the vagina, the rectum, the urethra. And for some people, it can actually improve sexual functioning. Some people say it makes orgasms more intense and more frequent.
Well, I think that's a good enough reason to do them right
Nobody's going
there.
to argue with that, I don't think. So let's go ahead and do it.
Okay. 3
times a day.
6
Days a week.
9
Seconds per Kegel.
and 12.
Kegels in a row to make a rep. It's so easy. Just do 12 of these 3 times a day. When you're doing them, hold it for 9 seconds. You will be the envy of your neighborhood. You will have a pelvic floor like a chain link fence, so you will be able to pull a trailer.
If you so choose. And don't forget, you can always go to the GynoCast Facebook page and get an infographic, which kind of details out the customizable plan. You can print it out, put it on your fridge. You can put it up in your office. We can share it with your friends. And it's a great resource to have. So
Indeed.
Make sure that you go and do your exercises today.
Yes.
Stay tuned.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GynoCast. My name is Dr. Eric Heegaard. I'm here with Twila Dang.
What are you doing?
I'm mixing it up.
Don't mix it up.
You know, the thing is that, listen, if you got to change the pace. It's like when you're
No.
boxing, like Twila,
No.
you know, when you and I kind of get on the gloves and we're boxing back and forth and you're like whapping me in the head. Sometimes you got to change the pace so you can.
I don't box. I cheat.
Yeah. There's no such thing as a fair fight.
Yeah,
in the
my
Twila
mom.
Dang,
Yeah, my mom taught
arena.
me there's no such thing as a fair fight. There's just the fight you walk away from. So do what you can.
Those are the fair ones. You walk away
well,
from
you
those.
walked away. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hey, you win. It's fair. It's all good.
So anyway, we. Twila, God
That's
damn.
your fault.
My boss, my buddy, my co-host, my wing person, entity.
It's okay to be a wing woman. I'm good.
wing soul entity,
Wow. I feel
child of light.
I feel very crystalled right now.
So we are continuing our conversation. I'm just gonna. Should I do this?
Please do.
This is like the second episode with our guest, who I'm really thrilled to have back. Thanks for coming back, Britt.
Thank you.
She never left. We have Britt Thelemann. Britt
They don't
Thelemann.
need to know the secret.
That's right. I'm talking about all the sausages you made. We have Britt Thelemann Pangerl, who is the president and one of the founding members of Minnesota Endo Warriors. Did I say that, or did I mix
You
it
did.
up?
No,
Okay.
you said it right.
You got it right.
She also, she's from Plymouth, went to Wayzata High School. Go Trojan.
Trojans. Yep.
They never let you down.
Now he's just adding stuff.
Let's
So
give
from-
a cheer on high for blue and gold. Our team will fight with might for blue and gold. And we will lead our team to victory, victory, blue and gold.
Nice.
And then there's this whole chant, W-A-Y, but we don't have to get into it.
Well, you got a nice voice too.
Yeah, I'm gonna get in trouble with all of the South Metro folks now. They're gonna be like,
Really?
nobody, future art school.
You know, I judge high school dance team all around the state, and so I travel a lot, and the South Metro is looking really good.
Hey,
Is it really? Excellent.
I'm probably not supposed to say that. Everybody looks really good.
Yeah, it's
Got to be a neutral
Competition is
observer.
I'm an official.
So Britt has, if you haven't had a chance to listen to episode 1 with Britt Thelemann Pangerl,
check the notes. We'll link that.
President Britt Thelemann Pangerl, she was very kind and shared her own personal story of her journey with endometriosis and diagnosis and surgery and where she's going on. But I wanted to spend some time talking about support groups and Minnesota Endo Warriors and what they do for women and who have the disease, for people who don't have it, in terms of educating, and honestly, and maybe as or more importantly, what organizations like yours do to push the envelope with physicians and providers to help us do a better job.
Sure.
And so tell us about Minnesota Endo Warriors. How about that?
Boom.
Just
So as a continuation, I guess, we are in our second year. It's going really well. We have 7 board members now, which is wonderful. And everyone on our board is a volunteer. Nobody makes any money. It's a nonprofit for a reason. And 100% of every donation we receive goes right back into fulfilling our mission, which is one of advocacy and education. And a couple of ways we did that our first year was through the second annual Minnesota Endo March. That was last year. We're continuing that again this year. And then we started up support groups. So we host each month an in-person and an online support group. And the in-person support groups range between being private groups for just Endo Warriors and more open groups, which mean Endo Warriors are welcome to bring a caregiver or a loved one who may be supporting them in their journey. And we like to invite special guests. Obviously, you were at our support group in January, which was wonderful. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah. And we get really good feedback from the support groups themselves, both online and in person. And what's so great about online is that, you know, we might be the Minnesota Endo Warriors, but Minnesota is one of the only states in our area that has endometriosis specialists like yourself. Yeah. So we have women from Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, even some from Wisconsin as well, who join our group. And the more the merrier. You can find it on our Facebook page and just answer a couple questions and we'll let you in. But that was one thing we started this year. We also went to the state fair with OBGYN West, so that was really fun.
That was fun. That was great, too. There's a lot of exposure in terms of exposing people to endometriosis. And I suppose exposure.
Yeah. You know, the hardest part about it was talking to... They usually were more elderly women who would come up to us and say, oh, I used to have that, and then I had a hysterectomy. And it's this weird place when you're working with an organization. You know, we're so educated on that there is no cure. This is a chronic disease. Chronic disease means there's no cure. Therefore, a hysterectomy can't be a cure. But when you're in that moment and someone's sharing their story with you, it's more about like listening and being there together than it is about correcting them. But I just want everyone to know hysterectomy is not a cure for endometriosis.
Yeah, endometriosis is not a uterine disease.
Oh. Yes, yes.
Just a way to throw your doctorness in there.
Yeah,
I like that.
I couldn't help myself. Just
just in the time we've talked about endo for years, and when you've told me different examples, like I think you told us once on the show about someone having it like in their lungs, or and it was like, wait, and I remember being like, wait, what? It can be like in other places, and we had a really wonderful, and we'll make sure to link back to that episode too.
Yeah, I want to listen to that.
Yeah, to give you a full understanding of just how complex endo is.
Yeah.
So we rounded out the year by kicking off our surgical care package initiative, and that's really exciting because, you know, part of this disease, you feel so isolated. I don't know how often you spend time talking with your girlfriends about your period. I can tell you until this, I didn't spend very much time with it. And then there's also underserved communities that we are looking to interact with. So we call ourselves the Minnesota Endo Warriors for a reason. We want to make sure that we're serving all people with periods, whether you identify as female in gender. And these surgical care packages, we're hoping will help bridge more of these communities together. So in them, everyone gets a tote, and both of them have tumblers in them. And then there's a variety of things that other members of our community have purchased on our Amazon wish list. And we'll make sure to link that in here as well, too, because we're constantly taking new donations. So things that when we were going through our laparoscopic excision surgery, which is the gold standard of treatment for endometriosis, had to get that in.
That was very doctorly.
Thank you. I've practiced. But these are things that we really, you know, would have helped us. The other piece of the puzzle that I think is really important are these note cards. And it's just a card on the front that says, you are not alone. And on the inside, it says, you are a warrior. And that's kind of our mentality that you're not a victim. You have so much strength. Look what you've endured. This disease requires really strong individuals to be able to manage and handle it. And each of these cards is signed and completed by a fellow Endo Warrior. So when you get your care package, it isn't just about like cool trinkets or things that might ease your pain, but it's also a fellow Endo Warrior acknowledging what you're going through and validating and seeing you and kind of welcoming you into the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited about those.
It's such a great idea. The surgical care package. So what do you think, and from personal experience and from other people that are in your support group and others, what are some of the feedback? What is some of the feedback you get from people in terms of what it brings to them?
Well, the disease affects 1 in 10 people with periods, we like to say, but that doesn't mean you're talking about your period. And I think what makes endometriosis so unique is it looks different in everyone.
Yep.
No two patients are the same. So you might be talking to a friend, like I had the luck of talking to a friend from high school, and we had some similar symptoms, and she helped me kind of find my path. But the benefit, especially of these online support groups, is you can talk to people from across the country or right in your backyard and list out your symptoms or maybe how you're feeling, and they can respond with, yes, acupuncture helped, or, you know, I cut out gluten and caffeine and now I'm feeling better. And they give you a lot of, you know, tangible pieces of information that you can take and try and then come back. And that's what we love is when we work in this community and we're sharing, you know, ideas or tricks, or my favorite trick that I tell everybody is the hot water bottle. It's way better than a heating pad or a heating
you're talking
blanket.
like the old school.
The old red rubber thing.
Yeah. They have them on Amazon.
Yes,
I've bought it at Walgreens, purchased it at Walgreens in the past. I think I have 4. They have really cool covers. Yeah, I like to buy a lot of things. You can ask my husband. Every day at my house is Christmas, but I love them. And whenever I'm sending someone something and they're recovering, I always send one of those, and people swear by them. So that's my number one. But everybody has these tips and tricks, and it just does something to make you feel less isolated.
Yes. That's always been my perception, that you know, is that there's a sense of being, not so alone.
Support for the GynoCast is provided by OBGYN West. OBGYN West provides the highest quality care from compassionate providers, including women's health issues from general sexual health to pregnancy care, childbirth, menopause, and beyond. Whether it's your teen's first annual exam, a new baby's on the way, or you're facing the special challenges of middle age, OBGYN West provides a wide array of services. Their doctors and PAs are trained in virtually every type of OBGYN service and procedure. OBGYN West provides exceptional care for women.
I envy some of the girls or the young women, especially whose moms have joined our groups. Because a lot of times, I mean, this disease has been known to be genetic, or it's seen to run in families, correct?
Yeah.
And we have women who are mothers now whose daughters are maybe 16, 17, 18 years old and starting to exhibit symptoms. And I love my mom, but she never really understood it. And she is wonderful and will talk to me about it now. But it's just different to talk to somebody else who can relate to me and my pain. And that's been really helpful.
You know, that just makes me think of an interaction I've seen again and again and again, just that you brought up, which is when you operate, or when I've operated on something on a woman, and I come out with the pictures and I tell their family what I've found, and you know, oftentimes the mothers they'll almost break down, like, because they're like, we didn't really know. And it gives some validation, because, you know, if you're lucky or unlucky, like you said, your mom may have had symptoms, or other women in the family have had symptoms,
right.
But sometimes it's not. Sometimes it just comes in isolation, or it comes down to the father's side. And going back to the whole idea of isolation, is that many of these adolescents and girls have been suffering from this one since they started having their period, and nobody around them really could empathize, because they may not have had the same symptoms themselves.
Well, you brought up a great point, because the next kind of phase we're trying to take this is more educational programming. So we went to the School Nurses Conference of Minnesota this year, and we were also talking with students from HOSA, who are high school students that want to go into the medical profession in the future. And we talked a lot about pain with periods, and many of the school nurses were like, oh, we don't have to worry about that. And I'm like, oh, what grades do you have? Oh, 5th and 6th graders. And I said, okay, are any of the young students in your classes getting their periods yet? Oh, yeah, we see that a lot. And I said, then you do have to worry about this, politely. And we gave them posters, and they're asking us, would you come talk? Would you come speak about this? And I said, yes, of course. I mean, that's kind of where we want to go, is hosting, you know, more speaking events to help educate. And I know we were talking about this before we started recording, but our goal is really grassroots, because so much of what we're finding is that the medical community maybe received a little bit of training in this at one point, you know, in your long career of deciding where you want to go. And obstetrics and gynecology is a huge specialty. Yeah. I mean, you have to do everything from diagnose ovarian cancer to deliver babies. I mean, there's a lot of organs in this area.
Yes, indeed.
And endometriosis, I think, kind of gets pushed to the side sometimes. So it's about advocating for yourself, and we're really trying to do that with a grassroots effort.
Well, this is why I really wanted to talk about this because that's been my perception. That just and one of the things I've felt very passionately about is that this idea that we need to get in, especially in schools, middle school, and get people talking about it and aware about it. Because ideally, and I know I'm just echoing what you're saying, you want to intervene early, not 10 years after, 10 years later when somebody's had a number of different surgeries, maybe not done well or just not diagnosed. And in my mind, the kind of emotional pain that goes along with, you talked, Britt, about the isolation of just people not understanding what you're going through and not being able to kind of advocate for yourself because you don't have any evidence necessarily.
Right.
And that's one of the things I've always thought was so tragic about the condition is that you have adolescent girls that, number one, their bodies are changing, they start having pain, and they may not have a support system around them that can tell them this is not normal.
Well, and I don't blame their parents because they don't know either.
They don't know. Exactly.
And I kind of take that as my cross to bear. I mean, that's the reason I started this group. I was so frustrated after 15 years of this pain, and I did the right thing. That's kind of the most annoying part is people telling me, well, why didn't you talk to your doctor? Or some of those commercials are a little blamey, if you ask me. Yeah. I also don't like that they're sponsored by pharmaceutical companies, but that's for another day. They're a little blamey. I did go to my doctor. I told them about my pain. I had every test in the book done, and I had to ask for surgery. I'm sorry, but it takes a lot of glasses of wine to look at your doctor and say, cut me open. Absolutely. That should not be our job as patients. And I was 31 years old. What if you're 15?
Exactly. You have to have somebody advocating for you. And so that's what I think is so powerful about what you're doing, which is, number one, you take away the isolation, and also you're educating the public, you're educating medical professionals, you're educating young women and their families. And I'm so excited to hear about you getting into the high schools and middle schools. I think that is just so profoundly important.
Thank you. We're really excited.
Yeah.
I have to say, though, before you start thinking support groups are a bunch of whiny chicks out there, it's not. One thing that we really wanted to do when starting Minnesota Endo Warriors, and a sentiment that all of our board members really take pride in, is we're not victims. We advocate for ourselves. Warriors is in our name. And if you come into the support group and you are, explaining your symptoms or complaining about a problem, our goal is to bring you back into the light. So whether that's with, what helps me, acupuncture, I meditate before I go to sleep. I have a special meditation for how to go to sleep with pain that's helped me. We talk about things to do and how to uplift yourself when you're feeling down, and not just like what drugs you should be taking and which doctor to see. It's more about how to, help someone holistically. And then the other thing that's been so helpful for me is turning my pain into my mission. I'm not just sitting back and complaining and posting pictures of myself, crying or posting my scars, which those are all important things that I enjoy people sharing. But what's helped me the most is getting my story out there and helping other people and seeing them get results and having them come back to me and say, oh, I'm so glad I saw that doctor, or I'm so glad I went back to my doctor and said this, or I'm so glad I had the surgery. It is very rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, can you talk about some other support groups that you know of, either locally or nationally, that people can get information from?
Well, I do love Nancy's Nook, and that's more of an educational group on Facebook, but you will find people from all over the world there, and that's where the big list that you're on. The big list of the excision specialists that Nancy has vetted. I also really love all the information that the Center for Endometriosis Care puts out, the CEC, and they're constantly posting articles and information from around the world, research studies. I mean, things that, for example, we used to think that, I'm going to mix up the term, but reverse menstruation, what was that called? Yeah,
retrograde menstruation.
See, doctor words.
That was,
but we've disproven that that's not the case because they found endometrial tissue in a fetus.
That's right.
So,
and in male fetuses.
Very interesting. So, and there are so many different groups of people that this really affects, and the disease affects, we estimate, over 176 million people around the world. Yep. And these groups are so wonderful. I also really love the documentary Endo What? So if you haven't seen it, You can go to their website and you can purchase a copy. It's very affordable, and they're a nonprofit as well. And Casey Berna, I know, is heavily involved with that group, and I've worked with her. We're trying to build a stronger partnership, but she's doing so much to advocate on a national level and trying to get our political figures to really take endometriosis seriously.
Yep.
I haven't heard an update. I don't know if you about what Senator Hatch and Senator Warren and their defense budget. Okay, well, we'll have to do a follow-up podcast.
I don't know. I haven't heard anything else about that either.
So there's a lot of resources out there, and if you just put endometriosis in your Facebook search bar, you'll come up with a ton of different groups. Find one that speaks to you. I know several of my board members are on a Rainbow Endo Warriors page for the LGBTQ community that they find really helpful. And I know a lot of people with endometriosis get labeled as drug seekers because it is a very painful chronic pain disease, but especially women of color.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there are different groups on Facebook as well. And I think that it's important to kind of seek out and feel the vibe in every group because they're all a little bit different. Some of them are more tongue-in-cheek and funny, and they post memes and cartoons about pain, which wasn't really my vibe. I like more the empowerment, like serious things, but some people need to laugh at pain to even get through it. So that's what I like about the different communities that are out there.
I'd also like to start, and I don't know what your thoughts are, but the Endometriosis Foundation, I think it's got a lot of great information. Endopedia, and I know
Endo News is another one.
Yeah, and so I know there's others, but like you said, Britt, get on the internet, do a search, and you can find tons of information. But I would go to these go-to things we're talking about for your best information. For sure.
I love how since the Endometriosis Foundation of America has gained more traction, that Padma Lakshmi has spoken out more about her disease, because I don't know if you guys know who she is. She's she's the host of Top Chef. I love that show. My husband and I tune in every time it's on, and we're kind of foodies anyway. But she's talked about it more on the show, and she's talked about it a lot on her Instagram. Instagram's a great place too, because you see these public figures sharing their endo stories, and then fellow regular warriors like us, and how they're dealing with it or what their scars look like. And it's kind of empowering. You don't feel alone. It isn't isolating anymore. And I've worked with a lot of communities, whether it be with cystic fibrosis or cancer or juvenile diabetes. And I think these invisible illnesses that, especially when they center around your reproductive organs, are really hard for people to talk about. And I'm not saying that cancer or diabetes or cystic fibrosis are easy conditions. By no means. Oh my gosh. They all deserve attention. But I really want to raise awareness for these diseases that affect our reproductive organs, because, I mean, endometriosis is 1 in 10. Infertility is 1 in 8 couples, I believe. And PCOS is another sister condition. My cousin has Hashimoto's disease. That's another invisible illness with the thyroid.
Yeah, another one of our hosts, Natalie from Twila. She has Hashimoto's as well. So
there's a lot of other things that I don't think people talk about because they don't necessarily get the publicity or the press. But that's kind of what our goal is with Endo Warriors.
Wonderful. So I'd like to just encourage people, number one, to spread the word about this disease, and encouraging people to educate themselves and to look at the people around them, because if you know more about it, you may be able to help somebody else be diagnosed, or someone they love be diagnosed, so they can get proper care. Please look at the Endo Warriors website. And
I just have one more initiative.
No, do it.
Okay, so for 2019, everyone asks us, where does your funding go? We're 100% volunteer, so every penny goes back to our mission. And our goal for 2019 is to help pay someone's copay, at least 1 or 2 people, because the only treatment for endometriosis is laparoscopic excision surgery. And if there's anything we can all relate to, it's the fact that healthcare has not gotten more affordable. So to be able to help someone kind of carry that burden and get the treatment and the care that they need that they might not be able to afford is our goal. So if you're able to donate, you can do it on our website. And then we want everyone to join us, even if you're not an Endo Warrior yourself, for the Minnesota Endo March on Saturday, March 30th. It's going to be at the Minneapolis Event Center. Registration starts at 11 a.m. and the march will start at noon. We're going to trot over the Stone Arch Bridge. Bring your signs. Bring your green hat. Just kidding. Do you know what movie that's from? Old school. Anyway, and then we have a party afterward that with food and drinks, and we're going to have some amazing speakers and give out some awards for the Endo Warriors in our community and what they're doing. So we want everyone to join us for that.
Wonderful. Twila, anything else I need to talk about? Or we need to talk about it? You need to talk about it.
No.
It's a safe space.
I'm
Go ahead and just let it out.
happy to be here.
Me too. Britt, thank you so much. I really appreciate
thank
you
you.
sharing your story and giving us more information on your organization and others. And if you're not a member of the GynoCast Facebook group,
You should join us.
All the cool kids are doing it.
I say it's really easy to do. Go to Facebook, type in the GynoCast in the search bar, request to be a member. It is a closed group, and we will vet you and let you in. The group is closed because we have sometimes difficult, sometimes challenging, oftentimes deeply personal stories that we share, questions that we ask, and support that we give to one another. And in order to do that in the best way possible and the most respectful and supportive way possible, we like to keep that group closed. So please do come join us. We have great conversations there.
I like it because it's like getting in with Dr. Heegaard, but no copay.
maybe I should put that as the tagline.
That's what we say about our support groups,
It's an
too.
appointment without the copay.
That's right.
You see how quickly the health system gets back to you on that.
That's great. All right. Well, thank you for listening, and we will see you soon.